Coming up on Mountain News this morning, yesterday the man police say hit 80 Fusion on a Bell County road. Killing him, pleaded not guilty. We have details from the courtroom. Plus, the 5-year-old boy thrown from a balcony at the Mall of America is still fighting for his life. And the number of measles cases in the United States is approaching a record number. We will have the latest details on the outbreak.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:31 on Tuesday, April the 16th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News This Morning. It's a cold start to your Tuesday, but it's all going to warm up, so do not worry. The sun will come out, and by noon, Brandon says it'll be in the 60s. Let's bring him in, and he'll give you a breakdown. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and yes, you were right, my friend. It's going to warm up quickly this morning, but not yet. We're still in the 30s this morning, and it's still frosty in a lot of areas. So we take a look at the Stonecrest Golf Course camera, and you can see a little frost there on the golf course this morning. So again, give yourself time to warm those cars up. Frost advisory until 9 across most of eastern and southern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. Temperatures in the 30s area wide. Feels like the 30s. It's feeling close to the 20s there in some locations, but the warm air is coming from the west, already in the 40s and 50s out toward western Kentucky, heading toward 74 later this afternoon. I'll have the rest of that forecast coming up here in a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, we'll be back with you. Appreciate it. Yesterday, the man police say hit 80 Fusion on a Bell County road. Killing him, pleaded not guilty. Joshua Darren Ellis will now appear back in court next Tuesday. That day, we could learn more about what evidence police have against him. Investigators say after hitting Fusion, Ellis and his 15-year-old son left the scene. They charged him with failure to render aid, resulting in the death of Fusion. Police also charged Ellis's son with tampering with physical evidence. He is now in a juvenile detention center. Yesterday, we learned the name of the woman investigators believe someone shot in Perry County last week. Mary Napier died last Tuesday. They say people riding four-wheelers found her. So far, police have not made any arrests. Her funeral is Wednesday at 1 at the Ingle Bowling Funeral Home. She was only 32 years old. Well, new information this morning about a child found in a Knox County pond. State police say the child was a 3-year-old boy. The circumstances surrounding his death remain a mystery. He was found in the pond on Wilton School Road in the Woodbine community Saturday evening. Investigators say right now it is too early to speculate on what exactly happened. A 5-year-old boy thrown from a balcony at the Mall of America is still fighting for his life this morning. The suspect in the case, Emmanuel Aranda, was charged with attempted murder yesterday. According to his arrest papers, Aranda told police he'd been coming to the mall for several years, trying to talk to women, but had been rejected, and it caused him to lash out. Police say the child and his mom were standing outside a restaurant when Aranda threw the child over a balcony. The child has several broken bones as well as head trauma. A woman in New Jersey pleaded guilty to a state charge Monday in a GoFundMe scam that preyed on the goodwill and sympathy of the public. Prosecutors say Kate McClure fleeced donors for more than $400,000. In 2017, she and her boyfriend, Mark Diamaco, posted a phony story on social media. They claimed a homeless man, Johnny Bobbitt Jr., gave McClure his last $20 for gas. The couple raised money on GoFundMe, claiming they wanted to help Bobbitt get off the streets. McClure pleaded guilty to 1 count of theft by deception in the 2nd degree. Her sentencing is set for June 19th. Yesterday, officials broke ground in Harlan County on what will be a huge help in getting industry to the area. The Harlan County Business Park along Highway 119 in Cumberland is what officials say is a sweet spot for future business. It's located within an opportunity and promise zone. The site also is on an area that was once mine land, so it qualifies for abandoned mine land funding. Officials say the next step is bringing in business.
We've finally broken ground. We're actually going to be able to share this story with new companies that are looking at maybe relocating or expanding to our part of Kentucky. So we're real excited to share our story of our available workforce, to share our story of a build-ready site.
The site itself is 50,000 square feet with an additional expansion capability of 50,000 square feet. Well, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice is betting on President Trump for a little help in his re-election effort. The Republican governor announced on Monday he has hired a former state campaign director for President Trump and 2 of the president's advisors to work on his 2020 bid. A news release says Mike Lukács is coming on to serve as Justice's campaign manager. Presidential advisors Bill Stipin and Justin Clark have also signed on to Justice's team. Congressman Andy Barr is calling on a high-profile colleague to apologize. Barr sent a letter to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Friday, referencing what he calls a lack of civility towards another colleague. The New York Congresswoman is a rising star in the Democratic Party and a frequent target of Republicans for her liberal views. Congresswoman Barr had invited her to tour a Kentucky coal mine, but he first wants her to apologize.
At the end of the day, we all need to treat each other as colleagues with respect.
A spokesman for Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's office told the Herald Leader's Washington bureau that the Congresswoman does not plan to apologize, saying the colleague she criticized was, quote, fanning the flames of hate. The congressman added that the border to Kentucky is still open, so they don't need Congressman Barr to meet with the coal miners, although they would love to have him participate if they do. The Mueller report is expected to be made public Thursday. Justice Department says Attorney General Bill Barr is to release Special Counsel Robert Mueller's redacted report to Congress and the public Thursday morning. The nearly 400-page report centers on the investigation into possible collusion between President Trump's election campaign and Russia. That includes possible obstruction of justice. Many are pushing to see an unredacted copy of the 400-page report. A federal judge has denied bail to a Chinese woman charged with lying to briefly gain admission into President Trump's Mar-a-Lago club. Federal Magistrate Judge William Matthewman refused to set bail for 33-year-old Yujing Zhang during a hearing yesterday, saying there's an extreme risk of flight if she were released. Zhang was arrested March 30th after Secret Service agents say she gained admission to Mar-a-Lago by falsely telling a checkpoint guard she was a member. A fellow Republican is challenging President Trump for the party's nomination for president in 2020. Former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld announced yesterday he is officially entering the race. Weld is the first Republican to challenge President Trump in the 2020 race. He had previously formed a presidential exploratory committee. 18 Democrats have formally announced a campaign or exploratory committee so far. In the past few weeks, we have told you about an outbreak in measles in several parts of the country. Other diseases like chickenpox and mumps have also increased. A viewer sent us this question: why are so many people getting these old viruses? So we sent our investigative reporter Miranda Combs to find out why they are making a comeback.
Seems like we had gotten a grip on so many of the viruses you heard about from your grandparents. But lately, they're back.
Of course, you've seen outbreaks across the country of measles, of chickenpox, of mumps. I mean, all of these illnesses, which we had almost eradicated, are now coming back.
It all comes down to vaccines. We didn't see outbreaks of old viruses because enough of us were vaccinated and protected. So one case might pop up, but the rest of our immunities were able to keep an outbreak away.
We had enough protection that you wouldn't see things spread. You would see little single cases or something, especially from traveling, but you wouldn't see these things spread because it had no place to go. So basically, it's the idea of saying you may have a spark, but you don't have enough fuel for a fire.
Because now, Dr. Stanton says the number of people that aren't vaccinated are overpowering the herd that is. Whether they are choosing not to be vaccinated or people coming into the country and don't have proper vaccinations. And now doctors are also learning some vaccines don't last a lifetime. Checking on the antibodies in the blood, also known as checking the titer level of the vaccine, is another way to see if the vaccine is still working. Just takes a simple blood draw.
Unfortunately, what happens is your body over time starts to say, well, I'm not seeing this, I'm not needing to fight this, so I don't need to have this army anymore. So it basically retires that army, and then that makes you susceptible again.
And now, with more of a chance to get the viruses again, that's the best way to make sure you stay protected, with that army inside your body trying to figure out what's coming next. In Lexington, Miranda Combs, WKYT.
Of the viruses making a big appearance in the United States, Dr. Stanton says measles are the far most contagious of all of them, but all are fairly easy to spread. Now, the number of measles cases in the United States is approaching a record number. More than 500 measles cases reported in 2019 just in 1 week. 90 new measles cases were reported in the U.S. That's the second highest number for the United States in 25 years. According to the Centers for Disease Control, and we're only 4 months into the year. There is a growing debate over issues like parent choice and government intervention.
It's a very slippery slope that we go down if we allow state governments, local governments, and federal governments to mandate what they inject into our children.
Measles was declared eliminated in the United States in the year 2000, and that won't change unless the disease is continuously transmitted for longer than 12 months. Well, it's 6:41. I need a break, so let's toss it over to Brandon to give you a breakdown of what to expect as you walk out the door this morning.
Catch your breath there, Will. You had a lot of reading there in that block, so we'll give you a little break there. Well, Mountain Parkway pretty quiet this morning up in Powell County near Slade, so that's some good news for you. Beautiful start to the day. Live pinpoint Doppler radar, nice and quiet as you head out the door this morning. Frost advisory does continue until 9 o'clock for most of the area, so a frosty start to the morning. Make sure you get out and scrape those cars, warm them up. Temperatures in the 30s area wide, 40 in Lexington, so it's starting to warm up already. The out the door forecast, well, we're going to see temperatures climb all the way up into the 70s later today. After the frost, we'll see sunny skies throughout the afternoon. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Thank you. We will have stories trending on WYMT.com next. As always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning. UK football fans, it's time to get excited. Select tickets start to go on sale this week. More on that straight ahead.